everyone, and welcome to Nintendo Everything Refresh, the weekly show where we keep you up to date as to everything new and exciting in the world of Nintendo. This is episode 34, and I'm your host, Nick Serpa, joined today by Dennis Gagliardato.
Hello, hello.
And we've got Nicolas Shade.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here.
Yes, and happy holidays. We're officially in the holiday season. I don't know, I guess in my head Thanksgiving is always like the start of the holiday season, but maybe it starts earlier for some folks. We've also got all the crazy Black Friday sales going on right now, so I guess that's a holiday for gamers out there.
You know what's interesting
have you guys picked up anything in the Black Friday sales?
I'm glad you asked, because I was literally going to say that, like, you know, it used to be one of those things that I looked forward to. Like, that was the big day of the year for me. But I'm very much an online shopper, right? I mean, I don't like going into stores, right? Like, because you find the same deals online, and you have a better chance of getting something from the warehouse than you do at your local Best Buy or whatever, you know, because chances are people have been sleeping there about a week and a half before you have, right? So, you know, and I'm not going to fight over something that admittedly isn't worth fighting over, right? It's just obnoxious to me. It's ridiculous. So I stay home, I stay comfy, I stay in my jammies, you know, and
yeah, I don't blame you, man.
Yeah, I just click the add to cart button, and then we call it a day. You know.
Yeah.
So, but actually, the last 2, maybe 3 years, I've honestly not picked up anything. And same thing happened this year, where, like, have there been good deals? Yeah, absolutely, things I've been interested in. But ultimately, like, I can live without, you know, and I just feel no real need to pick anything up. But that's just me. So.
Yeah, no, I think we're all spoiled for choice these days. I feel like, first of all, like, it used to be the case where I felt like games didn't go on sale all the time, but now it feels like games are constantly on sale. Like, especially if you're looking for like a multi-platform game, it's going to be on sale on one of the given platforms at pretty much any given time. It feels like they'll just kind of take turns. Yeah. But I didn't pick up any big games or anything. There were a lot of great deals on Steam. I picked up like the first Sonic Adventure game for like $2. So I picked up some older games that I was interested in, which has kind of been how I've been buying and playing games lately. I've been going back and playing a lot of older games that I missed. What about you, Nicholas? Are you picking up any Switch games lately?
I haven't yet.
Sales?
I haven't seen any sales on the eShop that have particularly grabbed me yet. I am kind of eyeing Neon White, since that's $5 off, and I might pick that up, but we'll see.
Yeah, there you go. Well, hey, if you're not looking to spend any money, boy, do we have good news for you, because we are doing another giveaway on our podcast, which is always exciting. This is our second giveaway. This one is brought to you by our friends over at Forever Entertainment, and they are giving away 5 copies of Front Mission First Remake here on this podcast, which is a game that I myself am actually super interested in. I haven't played any of the Front Mission games, but I've always had some interest in the franchise, and so I've been looking forward to this remake for quite a while. And yeah, we're giving away 5 copies here on the podcast, and another 5 copies over on Twitter, actually. That Twitter giveaway is already live, so go check that out. But if you want to enter in this podcast giveaway, all you got to do, same thing as our last one, head on down to the comments of this episode 34, over on YouTube. And in the YouTube comments, type the word strategy and leave your Twitter handle. And we will reach out. We will announce our 5 winners on next week's episode. And then we will reach out and DM you your code via Twitter. So yeah, it's a great chance to get a nice meaty strategy RPG in your hands to get all cozy with the holiday season. Yeah, like I said, this is one I'm super excited for. I don't know, Nicolas, Dennis, are you guys familiar with Front Mission at all? Have you guys played any of these games?
I don't have much of a history with it, no. I remember I picked, at least I'm pretty sure it's Front Mission. I could be thinking of another mech type game, but I'm pretty sure it's Front Mission. But I did pick up some older ones that were backwards compatible on PlayStation Vita, I want to say.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, now again, I could be thinking of another sort of mech game, but I want to say...
what the Vita version would be. I don't think there was a front mission game on the Vita.
Was it, well, not necessarily on the Vita, no, but backwards compatible games, so either a PSP title or a PS1 classic
Okay.
that I picked up that I would play on my Vita. There were two in particular, if I remember correctly, that I picked up, but I honestly don't remember which ones they were, if it was even front mission. I want to say it was, because I know it's been around for a while, but
It has. Yes.
yeah. But yeah, other than that, I don't have much of a history with it. No, so I mean, but it does look good for what it's worth. I mean, it does look good, but nothing I need to, personally pick up right away. It's not a priority title for me.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm just blown away by the fact that we're getting 3 remakes. Like, they're remaking the first 3 front mission games, which is crazy because the first one isn't even out yet, and they've announced the other 2. And I know a lot of folks who are fans of this franchise are very excited about that because these games have been, for the most part, locked on their original hardware, is my understanding. So the fact that
It's good to see that they're not only coming, because I know that Front Mission has always sort of had despite its sort of niche exposure compared to other games, certainly by but it's always had a hardcore following, and it's still nice to see that they are coming to modern day platforms and multi-platform at that, unlike something like the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, which are still yet to be seen on the Switch.
Are you a little salty about that, Dennis?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not gonna say yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not gonna say no either.
All right. Well, yeah. So if you're looking forward to checking out the front mission games, like I am, definitely enter in the giveaway, and like I said, we will announce our winners on the next episode. All right, let's get into our news. Not a lot of news usually on these holiday weeks, but we did get some exciting little tidbits here and there. Probably the biggest exciting tidbit, I guess not really a tidbit at all, is we got a trailer and a release date for the next wave of Mario Kart 8 DLC. Which is still a weird sentence. I still can't believe we're getting technically DLC for a game that came out in the Wii U's life. It's just bonkers to me. But I am not complaining. So yeah, we're getting the third wave of 8 courses are coming on December 7th. And there's some solid ones in here. Nicholas, looking over just the list of courses, are there any that you in particular are excited for or that you have some nostalgia for?
2 probably. The first would have to be Maple Treeway because that was always a classic on the Wii. And just seeing it here feels right. It seems like this is where it should be. Otherwise, 3DS Rainbow Road is just looking excellent. Visually, it's really nice. It's beautiful, and it makes me think that some of these courses have definitely had more effort put into ramping them up visually compared to the ones that we saw in the first 2 waves.
Yeah, it does seem that way. And also, we're going to have a shocking amount of Rainbow Road courses in this game.
Yes.
This is going to be like the definitive way to play through most of the Rainbow Road courses.
This is the 4th, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, because there were 2 in the base game, and I think we got one in an earlier pack. So, yeah, pretty wild stuff. And yeah, Maple Treeway has just aged like a fine wine. I'm so excited for that course. Just for the music alone on that one, it's got such a nice cozy fall vibe. It would have been better if we got it a couple months ago, but that's just because I want all my Mario Kart courses all at once, and I'm not patient. But what about you, Dennis? You looking forward to any courses in this new DLC wave?
Yeah, I mean, I love that they're bringing over all these Mario Kart Tour maps, because honestly, there's a lot of creativity that goes into those maps that I don't think gets enough respect. I think solely for the fact that because it is a mobile game, and a lot of people just sort of dismiss it immediately. And and I'm not gonna lie, I mean, but I also won't say that I'm not ashamed. But I do play a lot of Mario Kart Tour, and so but it's nice to see, these fantastic tracks be sort of brought over to the console space and be even more detailed than they already are, because I mean, for mobile games, you want to especially in the case of Nintendo, you want to make things appealing, you want to make things colorful, and you want to have that detail. But I can even tell just from going from mobile to Switch and seeing those Mario Kart Tour maps in this DLC that they even add that they add even more polish to it, which is really really nice. Because those maps already look great, so it's crazy that
Yeah.
it's just there's
Yeah.
more that can be done on in the detail department. But yeah, I mean overall, I mean this is such a great selection of tracks. And Mario Kart 8 I think is a fantastic game. Definitely one of the best racing games I would I would say ever made. So yeah, these are all fantastic. I'm especially excited for DS Peach Gardens. I played that a lot on Mario Kart DS, so that one's really nice to see. Really be beautified, if you will. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. Yeah, and it's nice. In addition to just the visual upgrades that we're getting, especially for these tour courses, they have been adding in. I think one of the complaints with your initial wave and maybe even the second wave were that they weren't really using all the mechanics of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in these DLC courses. But now we're seeing with the main one there being the anti-gravity. There wasn't a really strong usage of a lot of that in those courses. But we are seeing more of that in this wave. Like Merry Mountain in particular was they actually added in some and reworked portions of the track from the Mario Kart Tour release. So yeah, some of these are going to feel, I think, more revamped than previous waves, which I'm personally excited about. Because as much as I love the Mario Kart Tour courses, I think some of them do kind of risk still feeling like they originate from a mobile game without a little bit of a revamp. So I'm happy to see that they're putting in that extra work.
It makes me wish that they kind of revamped Maple Treeway a little bit more to include even more anti-gravity, because the idea of you kind of driving through this tree seems like it would be ripe to add a ton of anti-gravity in it, just driving around the branches and the trunk and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the anti-gravity is like a huge gameplay shifting thing, but it's, adds a little bit of flair to the
Honestly,
game,
it's more of an aesthetic thing than anything else, just because of how it lets them design the tracks to incorporate elements where you can ride on walls and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, here's, what I actually do want them to bring back as part of this DLC that will never happen? Bring back the first-person mode from Mario Kart 7. It was like such a weird thing from that game that I kind of miss, and I wish I could do it on all these courses just to get a better look at all the detail, because these courses are so detailed,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's always good to have those options anyways, because, people like to play racing games so differently. It's probably weird to, the general person who just kind of leaves everything on, in third person. But, I've known people growing up that, they prefer the bumper cam, right? They prefer right in the front where all they see is the road in front of them.
Yes.
So, give people options.
For more of the sim racers, usually.
Oh, for sure.
Usually
For
see
sure.
a lot of it in the casual games, for lack of a better word. And crazily enough, we still have like a full year of these Mario Kart courses ahead of us, which I think is a real exciting thing.
Yeah, this is only the halfway mark, right?
Yeah, we still got 3 more waves. We're going to talk about this at least 3 more times, so buckle up, folks. I hope you're ready to hear us talk about Mario Kart 8 DLC for the rest of next year, because that's... Yes. Yes, you're welcome, Nintendo. You can send us our commission later. Yeah. So yeah, that's coming out very soon. Something else coming out soon. I'm going to kind of skip ahead on our run of show here. This one actually is getting a slightly earlier release. The Switch Sports Golf update, the much anticipated return of golf. It's here. It's coming. And actually, it will probably be out by the time you're listening to this podcast. It's coming out on Monday, November 28th. So, technically a little bit ahead of schedule. Isn't that right, Nicholas?
Well, I mean, if you're not accounting for the delay, then yes.
True. Okay, yeah. Well, they said December, right? So, I guess if you just forgot that part.
Relative to that, yes, it's ahead of schedule. Even still, I mean... They say these are holes from the Wii Sports series, so they're also not brand new, presumably. So,
no,
I'm still going to maintain...
About... Yeah.
I'm still gonna maintain the thought of why did this take an additional like 7 months to implement? Because I still don't understand it.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Dennis, what's your take?
Well, I mean, other than me being pissed off about the whole thing, it's just the fact that, I'm not sure why it took so long when, you do have these courses that are, not original, right? I think Nintendo Switch Sports is something that I think a lot of people felt overdue, right? Especially given the success that Nintendo Switch has had. You would have thought this would have happened sooner. Granted, I mean, it's obviously, it's not easy to see, the projected sales of any given console, when you're starting a new generation, right? You can be optimistic and try to have goals and stuff, but I don't think even Nintendo, especially coming off of Wii U, anticipated just how successful the Switch was going to be, right? So, it's just unfortunate that it took this long, and the product that we got did still ultimately feel sort of, for lack of a better word, just half-assed,
Yeah.
just,
No, I mean it's you're not mincing words, but you're not wrong.
yeah.
I mean, just kind of the trend they've had with the sports games in general on the Switch.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And I don't think, adding golf is going to get people to go out and buy the game. It seems more like a consolation for people who did buy the game and being like,
Right.
well, here's something you probably enjoyed from the Wii days. And
Yeah.
wouldn't you like exactly the same thing, but with Joy-Con instead of Wii remotes? And
I almost
honestly,
wonder...
for me, you know what? Like, I will probably play this because why not? I've got some nostalgia for the Wii Sports Golf. I don't have to pay money
Made
for it.
worse
It's not
decisions in
hurting
life,
anyone.
probably.
I probably have. This is true. But yeah, I don't think. I guess the new-ish thing here is survival golf, which is, I mean, I guess the best way to describe it is it's like elimination golf. So whoever has the most strokes over par each round is out, and they say up to 8 players can play that. So that could be interesting. But
I can see that being fun.
yeah, but I don't know if that's is that what contributed to the delay? Is
Well,
that what
system
ended the delay 2
seller,
months?
honestly, just there, survival
Yes.
golf. There you go.
Yeah. I think the real casualty is that there aren't any of the holes, as far as we're aware. Or maybe they are actually. So it says they're bringing 21 holes from the Wii Sports series. So does that mean they're bringing in like courses from Wii Sports Resort as well?
I would assume
That sounds
so.
like it. Yeah.
Okay, because that would be nice. Because I was just gonna say I miss that game in particular, Wii Sports Resort. So it'd be nice if we get some of those. But I guess we'll find out in less than 24 hours from the time this podcast is being recorded.
Gentle reminder
And,
of better days in the Wii Sports series.
Yeah. Yes.
Which
yes.
honestly, that reminds me that survival golf gave me the idea, which I think there's a missed opportunity. There's an untapped market, I feel, that I wonder, like, has there been a golf game with zombies? Has that been a thing? Where, like, you're just trying to golf like a normal round of golf, but you have to escape these zombies at the same time?
Golf
There's
Story
something-
probably has zombies at some point.
Dennis, this is a great idea. I actually want to hear more about this. So is this
Yeah.
just like you have to hit the zombies with your golf ball, or are they just slowly creeping up behind you while you're like trying to line up your stroke?
You know what? Let me brainstorm it for a little bit. It might take a few episodes, but then once I'm ready to
Okay.
prototype it, I'll let you guys know, and then we'll pitch it to like EA or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Because
I figure like an
actually
action
already
sports
sold on this
hybrid.
idea.
It's part golf, part you have to fight us zombies with the golf club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like
No,
with how ridiculous it is, it does kind of sound like what is it, Dead Rising a little bit, doesn't it? Like, but so Capcom could pick it up, bro.
Yeah, now I'm just picturing a
most
golf Muso game.
sports- Yeah, most sports would be made more interesting with zombies. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, seems to be working out pretty well for Call of Duty. So
Oh, that's low. That's low.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
All right, so here's another little tidbit of news. This is regarding Fire Emblem Engage. It is clear that Nintendo is beginning the marketing cycle for this game. So we are on our second trailer for this game in 2 weeks, which makes sense because it is coming out really soon, end of January. So we're just about 2 months out from it. So this new trailer that came out was talking more about the actual emblems mechanic, and the how you use the emblem rings in the games, and basically just going into more detail about how you can summon all these characters from previous Fire Emblem games, which is not inherently new in of itself. I think, it seems to be a much bigger part of this game. you know, I feel like in previous games when you were summoning, I mean, granted, the only Fire Emblem game I've played is Awakening, but in Awakening, the mechanics where you could summon characters from older games were all pretty optional, and I feel like that's the case for the newer games as well. So it seems like to be a very integral part of this game, which I'm not sure if that's going to make all the fans happy.
I think that if nothing else, the use of the emblems as a gameplay mechanic means that there's going to be quite a lot of variety in terms of character customization that you can do, since all of them provide pretty unique abilities, and that will make things interesting from just a general kind of how are you going to build your team aspect, if nothing else.
Right. Yeah, I think, what I've seen in the comment sections of some of these trailers and stuff is that a lot of people just want the Fire Emblem franchise to, some people don't want it to lean so hard on the nostalgia and the fan service elements of it. They want it to bring more new ideas. And I think I could see that critique. I mean, if you're bringing back all these characters, in a lot of these games, it's not going to feel as special. So I guess I could understand that perspective as well.
Yeah, to be honest, that's kind of where I am. Like, seeing Marth featured so heavily in all of these trailers is just like, wow, Marth. They've never brought him back for any time that Fire Emblem has referenced his past history or in any crossovers.
Right.
I can't believe it's Marth.
What a surprise. Yeah, yeah, I mean, that being said, with the last trailer showing off more of the story, this trailer is showing off more of the gameplay and showing off some of the special abilities, and it all looks great. I mean, it looks like Fire Emblem. It doesn't look like a huge shakeup to me personally. But, I'm sure there's more that they're not quite showing off yet. It all looks very polished. I mean, without a doubt, I think this is the best looking Fire Emblem game that we've gotten.
Yeah. I'm stoked for it. I think one thing to mention though is that we can't deny. I think the reason why they're going down this route, because I'm absolutely in the same camp, right? Where it's just like I wish they wouldn't lean so hard on the nostalgia, because I would like to see something a little more, not necessarily original, because this is original, but something that is more, a look into the future of, what Fire Emblem, can be. And Fire Emblem Three Houses was just so refreshing in so many ways, because of it. But we can't deny the success that Fire Emblem Heroes has had, right, over the last couple of years. I mean, and it's been generating just a stupid amount of revenue since launch and has not slowed down for Nintendo. And I think they want to take a lot of those elements and bring that over into the console space. So yeah, I think that's just sort of why I think we're seeing this Fire Emblem, go more towards that route versus Three Houses, because I'm sure Three Houses was in development long before, any of them even anticipated how much Fire Emblem Heroes on mobile would have even blown up, right? So, but now, that they have the install base, now that they have that success, and now that they have that exposure that Fire Emblem has, I think it's a lot more easy to market towards that crowd. No different from what Let's Go did for Pokemon, right? That was meant to bring in the Pokemon Go crowd into the Switch console space, right? So, and I think this is what this is supposed to be doing, but for people who play Fire Emblem Heroes.
That makes a ton of sense.
One thing, and maybe you guys can help me out with this, because I'm not sure if they've talked about it or shown it off or not, but the big shakeup with Three Houses was the school element, and how starting in the beginning of the game, you had this massive kind of hub world to explore, and it made up a huge chunk of the gameplay. And I can't recall if they've shown off anything like that for this game. Do you think they're kind of abandoning that structure and going back to a more traditional narrative progression for the Fire Emblem games, or have they shown off a big hub and maybe I just missed it?
I honestly don't know. I feel like I might have seen some shots of the characters just standing in like a an old city looking place, but I might be imagining that. Although I do think there probably will be some kind of central hub, because that's an aspect they've only been emphasizing more since Fire Emblem Fates. Fire Emblem Fates had like a funky castle system where you sort of had like a central hub, although it was pretty minimal. And they expanded that in Three Houses, and then they further expanded that in Three Hopes, if you want to count that. So I do think we'll have something similar here. It just seems like an element they've been emphasizing more and more every game.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'd like to see more of that, because I think that's one of those things that, could either be an interesting step forward compared to Three Houses, or it could be interesting to see, how they go back a little bit and bring back some of the more traditional progression. But yeah, so any other thoughts on this game? I mean, it's 2 months away. I know, Nicholas, we talked about it recently, but Dennis, are you excited for Fire Emblem Engage?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I honestly want the collector's edition really bad, but I know that I've been trying to stop myself from getting collector's editions, over the last couple of years, because ultimately, they're nice to have, but I always look back at them and I'm like, man, I don't use or really appreciate like 90% of the stuff that's in here. I really just want the game, right? But I think the excitement just sort of gets to me where I'm just like, yeah, forget it. I'll buy the collector's edition. But it does look really nice this time around. But anyways, long story short, yes, I am very excited for Fire Emblem Engage. I loved Three Houses, and I've been a pretty avid fan now for Awakening was the one. Well, Awakening was my Awakening, basically. I dabbled in Fire Emblem beforehand, but yeah, Awakening was the one on 3DS that like really just sucked me in, and I was like, man, I love this. I can't get enough. So everything after that, Echoes and Fates, oh dude, I was all about that. I bought every single one, all of those collector's editions actually, and yeah. I've been with Fire Emblem since. So.
You had the Revelations Collector Edition?
Yes, I do.
Oh, wow,
yes,
nice.
Oh.
Yep.
That'll be helpful the next time you're trying to, buy a house or something. You
I was going to say, yeah.
That might command a pretty hefty amount.
That's right, yeah. See,
yeah,
NFT's got nothing on my Revelations.
There you go.
Collector's Edition, yeah.
That is evergreen value, baby.
That's right. Yeah, Bitcoin wishes it was that good.
Yeah, I didn't really. My history with strategy RPGs is not a particularly long one. I actually can't remember the first strategy RPG game I played, but I mean, it wasn't really that long ago in the grand scheme of all the time I've been playing games. And the first Fire Emblem game I played, Awakening, I mean, I just started playing earlier this year, and I mean, I've been enjoying it. It hasn't hooked me in the way that I thought it would. Compared to how everyone's talking about it, and maybe it's just because it's stuck on the 3DS, and I think it still does a lot of things really well. It's a beautiful game, and it's got just great tone and great atmosphere. The strategy gameplay itself, in that game, it doesn't feel like anything groundbreaking to me. It's really solid, but I don't know, maybe I'm just not far enough into it yet, but I do want to play more Fire Emblem games, because I feel like it's one of my bigger Nintendo gaming blind spots. So, and I own a good chunk of them. So I hopefully sometime next year I'll check out one of the newer ones and deepen my expertise. But they're all pretty standalone, right? So I guess I probably could pick up Engage and enjoy it. I just always get nervous with all these character throwbacks. I'm like, am I gonna miss something because you're referencing all these other things? And
well, I'm curious, Nick, because it was so cheap. I feel like a lot of people picked it up because it was cheap, but I know you're fairly new to the Fire Emblem space. So, did you actually get around to picking up when they released the remake of Fire Emblem 2, I believe, on the eShop for a couple of months? It was very exclusive. It was a limited time thing, but did you pick that up? It was on the eShop for
oh, you mean $. Was the old NES or SNES one?
Yes.
Mystery of the Emblem, I think.
Yeah, no, I didn't
Something
play
like
that.
Yeah.
I did not pick that one up. It just didn't seem super exciting to me personally. But
sure. Yeah, it hadn't been localized before, so I know. I think it was one of the reasons why I was excited. Though funny enough, still have not played it, but I wanted to pick it up because I knew it probably, it wouldn't have been available ever again. So I was like, yeah, why not? I'll just do it for now. It was only $6, which wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I hope it's not one of those things I'm gonna regret. But I'm sure they'll put it on Switch Online too, or whatever.
Yeah, honestly, that wouldn't surprise me.
Like,
Yeah.
look, we're bringing it back. Yeah.
Yeah, because honestly, why go through all that trouble localizing it anyways? You spent all these resources, you know, and then only to have it available for a couple of months, please. You know.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. No, I feel you. Well, hey, here's another game that we all want to come back, and we've been talking about recently, actually. Kid Icarus Uprising. I would love so much to play this game on a modern system. The Switch would be great, but I'll take it anywhere. Put it on Xbox. All I care. Just let me play Kid Icarus Uprising on something that is not the 3DS. Not that the 3DS version is bad by any means. It actually still holds up really well, and the 3D in that game is stunning. But yeah, would love to see it like in HD or 4K or just anywhere really. But yeah, we're not the only ones, because Masahiro Sakurai, you may know that name. He's just the creator of Kirby and Smash Bros. And all kinds of amazing games. And Kid Icarus Uprising.
Yeah. Small little indie developer.
Yeah. Yeah, he, as you may know, he's been doing this YouTube channel thing for a while and throwing out some tidbits and talking about the games that he's made. And in his video on Kid Icarus Uprising, he said, and this is a quote, "It sure would be nice to play Kid Icarus Uprising on a home console. I wonder if someone out there will ever port it."
He would not know if that happened. He's only the director of the game, clearly.
Just a little part of me just died when he said that, because he's either toying with us or he's just genuinely asking the question, and either situation makes me sad.
Yeah. I mean, he should know that he has the influence and the power to shake up the internet like that, and that's exactly what happened. Even though this small little thing got people being like, what, hold on, what? You know? So, I mean, it's, because I mean, I personally would love to see it, you know, make a comeback as well, whether in the form of a remake or, of course, a brand new game as well. So, but yeah, I mean, that one definitely it opened up a lot of eyes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I mean, it's just one of the more unique games that I feel like Nintendo has put out in the past decade. I mean, it was a return of a character that was not a major Nintendo character, you know, was mostly known for being in Smash Bros. And made him into just this badass character that, in my opinion, like could and should be, you know, standing alongside like Mario and Link, and just giving him a game with that level of scope and you know, excitement to it.
Right.
And especially because it felt like such an out of left field thing at the time. You know, it's just not something that Nintendo does a lot of. And that game, it has, and I'm not sure if it's still up. I think it is, but it was also like a really big multiplayer game too.
Mm-hmm.
It had a very active multiplayer.
It had fun multiplayer too. It was genuinely well designed, like really fun multiplayer.
Yeah, it was great. There really was not much like that on the 3DS. Yeah, it would be a shame if this game never got a port. I will say that.
Yeah. It is worth noting, several months back, I think in April, Bandai Namco put up several job listings that mentioned that essentially they were contracted by Nintendo to make a remaster or remake, it wasn't clear, of a 3D action game. And there was some speculation at the time as to what exactly it could be. Now with the comment from Sakurai, it's possible that it's a tease towards Kid Icarus, since Sakurai also has some pretty big connections to Bandai Namco. They were the lead developers behind the last two Smash games. So that could be kind of what he was hinting at and the avenue they're going towards. But I hope.
Yeah, I totally forgot about those rumors. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be that. It could also be something else.
It could yes.
Be like, you know, a remake of Metroid Other M or something, for all we know. But can you imagine? Can you imagine if that's what it was?
Man, look.
Remake of Little Town Hero.
I would play it.
Look,
There you go.
I will defend Other M. I don't care. I know everyone like craps on it and hates it, but whatever. I'm one of the few people that will defend it.
I mean,
don't
for
care.
the
I like
most
Other M.
part,
Oh,
the
yeah,
problem
no,
people
don't
have
get
with
me
it is the
wrong.
story.
I had fun with it. I had fun with
Fair
that
enough,
game
yeah.
for sure. It would just be fun. It would just be the most Nintendo thing if that was the game.
Oh,
that
well,
was
yeah.
a remake.
Yeah, either that or it's just like just a small little like I don't know, they're just gonna release like one of those like My Nintendo like keychains or something. That's what it is.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Well, we can all hope and keep our fingers crossed. And yeah, and I guess it's also worth noting that Sakurai, back in 2018, he acknowledged that a lot of people were asking for a modern port of Kid Icarus Uprising. And back then, he said he didn't think it would be possible, was what he said. So that I'm hoping
what I
that
find
this is a
interesting?
change of heart from him.
yeah, well, let's hope but honestly, I think about how like, if these things were backwards compatible to begin with, people wouldn't get hounded so much. I feel about like port it, remake it, do this just to spend extra resources and yet another millions and millions of dollars to do something you already did. But so if you had the backwards compatibility to begin with, people would more. I mean, people would still ask, I'm sure, for a remake or a remaster. I mean, look at Resident Evil 4 for the 18th time coming out soon. So right, but
Right.
but still, it would make the wait for something new a little more manageable. So yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. It's just, with the way Nintendo makes their consoles, I mean, how do you translate DS and 3DS games to
Oh, for
other
sure. Yeah, that would
platforms?
not be. Yeah, that
it's-
would not be easy for sure. Yeah.
Just get a
it-
second
it's like the
Switch.
double-edged sword. Yeah.
But to be fair, they've done it a couple times, right? We've seen the Alliance Alive come over to, the Switch. We've seen,
Yeah.
Captain Toad, which did have a 3DS port. We've seen,
Gunvolt, I think, was originally on
No,
3DS.
this is true.
Yeah.
It takes a little more work. It wouldn't be
Oh, for sure, yeah.
a simple port job, but
no,
it can be done.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the Diamond and
if-
Pearl just did that too. Those were DS games, right?
Right.
It's such a
Right.
good port those were. How they used that second screen, oh man, really just
Oh,
shove it in that
Yeah.
corner. It worked great.
Revolutionary.
Oh.
yeah. Hey, speaking of Pokemon, just let's talk about those games for a little bit, because despite all the hubbub about poor performance, which is worth noting, and we talked about it extensively in the previous episode, these games have been selling remarkably well. In fact, they sold over 10 million copies in the first 3 days, which is, on one hand, shocking, and on the other hand, not shocking, because Pokemon games always sell a ton. But I guess part of me thought, like, with everything people were talking about with how poorly these games were running, that maybe that would affect things. Clearly, that was not the case.
No. I mean, it was also I think the most pre-ordered Pokemon game ever before launch. So it's Pokemon. It's always going to succeed regardless of what the actual games do, which is probably the most frustrating part of the entire franchise.
Right. Because in a way, you wonder, like, is it just going to reinforce to Game Freak that we can just throw out these games that barely run and they'll sell great,
Yeah, I mean, it's
But Dennis,
hard
you've-
to have concrete feedback.
Right. Dennis, I know you've been playing the new Pokemon game, and I'm curious, what are your boots on the ground impressions? Is the performance as bad as everyone says? Is it not so bad? Are you still having fun with the game?
Yeah, well, both actually. For somebody made a tweet a while back that was like, it just sort of, I feel like encapsulated the whole thing perfectly. Where the tweet was, "I should not be having this much fun with a game this broken," and which is true. I'm having credit where credit's due. I'm having a great time with it. This is, a step for Pokemon in the right direction, not technically speaking, but just in terms of gameplay, it's a step in the right direction. Especially with I have had a sour taste in my mouth since Sun and Moon. I truly believe X and Y. I mean, everyone will have their own favorite generations and stuff like that, but X and Y to me was the last good one. So, and that was in 2013, whatever. So it's been almost 10 years since we've had, for me anyways, a solid generational Pokemon game. Sun and Moon, I was not a fan of. Sword and Shield, I don't like to talk about. That almost sent me to therapy. And Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was just rehashing the same nonsense. And yeah, and I didn't buy the DLC for Sword and Shield either because I did not like Sword and Shield at all. So, but Arceus was a step in the right direction. I really liked Arceus despite how visually disgusting that game was. And this one once again is a step in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, technically speaking, in terms of performance, yeah, no, it's really not ideal in any sort of sense. It is unacceptable in a lot of ways. I know a lot of people say that, yeah, because there's been so much discourse around it. A lot of people have been saying, oh, well, Game Freak, they just didn't have enough time. But you look at, there's tons of articles, tons of sources that say that they started basically working on this game the moment Sword and Shield essentially finished. So, and that's so it's been about 3 years now, and I don't know why 3 years still. I mean, look, games take a while to make, right? And then of course there's not just the processing of developing them, but there's the debugging, there's the testing. So there's a lot that goes into it.
In theory, those stages happen in the development process.
Right. In theory.
In theory, that happens.
I mean, can you imagine if they have seriously happened though? Like, what was the game initially like?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, I get it. There's a lot of steps, a lot of stages in the development process, but 3 years is kind of insane. When you look at the turnaround of some other games, like even just going from Xenoblade 2 to Xenoblade 3, and this is Xenoblade we're talking about. I mean, granted, we're looking at a 5-year difference, so there's 2 extra years there, but I mean the scale is gargantuan. By comparison, what those 2 extra years can do. But even with just 3 years, I still feel like Monolith Soft could have absolutely given it an absolutely banging product. So, but anyways, not comparing, because I don't want to compare games here. It's mainly just focusing on the development aspect of it, where I do feel like Game Freak, you can try to defend them, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this has been way too consistent with the last couple of generations. Even though you can say it's too many projects. Oh, yeah, they just had Arceus come out. Whatever, I don't care. That's why we need to start licensing out this, this series. If you want to have a Pokemon game every year, fine. But, don't put all the pressure.
The thing. I don't think we need a Pokemon game.
I don't think so either.
Every year. And we certainly don't need 2 in a year, you know?
Yeah. I mean, actually, if you count BDSP, we got 3 within the span of 1 year.
That's true.
That is
insane.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It is insane. Yeah, it's not necessary. And yeah, I think if they hadn't been working on all these concurrent projects, or hadn't been, requiring themselves to get them all out by a certain date, then we probably would have gotten a better product.
Well, yeah, and again, it is a fun game. There is a good game there, and again, I stand by the fact that I think this is the best generation since X and Y. But it's also something that, again, once again, with how consistent this has been, I don't think Game Freak, they're not settling well, clearly, into the 3D space, and they need to go back to pixel art or something, because their pixel art was extravagant. It was fantastic. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in video game history in this medium, But with sprite work and everything like that. But ever since Pokemon's gone into a 3D space, it has been clearly very difficult for them. And you can say it's a lack of manpower, which I don't believe. But it's they change your engine, do something. It's just not acceptable to be in the state that it is, given that you're Pokemon. You're this $1 billion generating IP that is one of the highest generating IP in the world.
No, I hear you.
So,
yeah. No, I hear you. But, and, to that point, that was kind of similar to how I felt when I was playing the Switch port of Sonic Frontiers. It's there's a great game buried under here, but it's just buried under a bunch of technical issues that, could have been fixed.
Yeah. And honestly,
in some capacity.
And another thing that kills me too is, yes, I as much as I would love to see a Switch Pro, to blame it or to say that, oh, this would be so much better if there was a Switch Pro. No, I don't think so, because so long as Game Freak's handling it, it's going to be the same damn thing all over again. I'm sorry, that's just what it's going to be. So you could have it. They could be working on a Series X. It'll be the same damn thing all over again. I don't care. So you need to start licensing
Dennis
this
is
thing out.
done. Dennis is
Yeah,
done with Game Freak.
I am. I am. I'm tired of the incompetence. I'm tired of, and again, you can blame. Hey, look, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right? The management, everything happened with Pokemon Company, but also for Nintendo, this is a company that's known for their polish. This is a company that's known for their detail and stuff like that. Why were they okay? So I do feel like there's something bigger at hand, because Nintendo normally would have no problem delaying something. They did it with Animal Crossing. They've done it with Breath of the Wild multiple times. So it's as one of their biggest properties, why not delay something like that? It's weird. There's something happening behind the scenes we don't know about. So yeah.
If Advance Wars can be delayed,
right? Exactly. Right.
Year,
Advance
we can delay
Wars.
Pokemon by a couple months.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So I really want to get to be a fly on the wall. Just to be a fly on the wall. I swear.
Yeah.
I swear. But yeah, no. I mean,
okay.
Overall,
let's set aside the technical issues for just a minute here, and just looking at the game as a whole. Just real quick, if you could pick one thing that's your favorite part of this new Pokemon game, what would it be?
I love Paldea. I do. I think the region is great. I love that I can just walk everywhere and find something new. The fact that there's constantly generating items and stuff like that to give you the incentive of just walking around. Like sometimes I don't even really just like riding on Koraidon. I like to just walk, and just take in the scenery. I mean, again, visually not the best, but it's the environment is well done enough that I like just walking around, seeing all the Pokemon out in the open and interacting with them. Whether it's catching them or just throwing your own Pokemon out and having the picnics and whatnot. Yeah, there's just a lot of quality of life stuff that they've done within Scarlet and Violet that I just really appreciate. That just makes it a lot more immersive. I think it's definitely one of the most immersive Pokemon games in a long time, for sure.
Right. Well, yeah. Hopefully, the issues that we're seeing are things that can be fixed, and if they are things that can be fixed, hopefully there are things that will be fixed. Because I think to leave what a lot of people are saying is a good game trapped under this would be a shame. So, if you're listening, Game Freak, we're rooting for you. And hope to see a better version of this game soon. I don't think they're listening, but if they are, if they're not, someone tell them.
Well, they haven't been listening to fans at all. So I mean, it's it'll be the same thing again. So they have their own bubble there, and don't worry, don't worry.
Yeah. All right, a couple more quick news tidbits I want to make sure we get through in this episode. This one's a little bit of an oddity, which is why we're talking about it. So we've addressed in previous episodes kind of the weird situation between Microsoft and PlayStation. Basically, Microsoft is trying to buy Activision Blizzard. Sony does not want this to happen because they want Call of Duty on PlayStation, but Microsoft has the money, and so they're trying to do it anyways. And for the most part, Nintendo has not really been involved in this process because, I mean, they're just not really involved. I mean, there are some Activision games on Switch, but they don't have a huge stake in the game. But as part of this whole thing, Sony and Microsoft have been trying to come at each other and say, oh, well, here's why this is an okay thing to do, or here's why it's not, to the government regulators who are in charge of these types of things. And what Microsoft said this week, they said, according to Microsoft, Nintendo, quote, offers a broader range of mature content than Xbox, which is just an interesting thing to say. But at first when I heard this, I was like, that seems kind of like a stretch. But they really they go out and they're listing off. They're talking about Nintendo exclusives. They're like, oh well, they're marketing big exclusives like Bayonetta 3 and Shin Megami Tensei 5. Then they list off a ton of ports like NER and The Witcher and Doom and Wolfenstein, and they're like, look at all this mature content on Switch. They're a big competitor, and they're not upset that we're buying Call of Duty. So it's all a lot of corporate nonsense, but it's an interesting conversation. Like, I mean, the Switch has really kind of opened the floodgates in a big way to more non-family friendly games, I would say. And I guess more than I think a lot of people realize. I think it's the real takeaway here.
Yeah, I think maybe someone should forward this to the Yakuza devs, see what they have to say about it.
Oh, no, those games are just too they're too underground for the Switch. Nicholas. That has nothing to do with mature content. They're just too underground. Oh man. Yeah, no, I guess not too much to say about this other than it's so funny, having these companies like just acknowledging, how much Nintendo. I think Nintendo still very much has the family-friendly image, but it is clear that they're not afraid to cater to more types of gamers than they did during the Wii days. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, we have games like Mortal Kombat on Switch. It's not really a kids-only platform at this point.
Right. Which I think is part of the reason why it's selling so well. I think you kind of need to do that nowadays to be successful, but yeah, just an interesting thing. Still no word as to like whether or not this whole Xbox Activision transaction will actually go through, but
I
but
honestly think everyone's forgetting like Activision wants to be bought. Like why is no one focusing on that it's Activision's decision. If they didn't, it's not like Microsoft came in and was just like, hey, you belong to us now, and they're like, no, please, no. Like it's Activision wanted to be bought. They put themselves on the market. Microsoft was just like, yeah, okay, we'll bid, and then they were like, cool, great, all right. So it was an agreement. That's the definition of agreement. You both say yes.
Right.
So what if anyone else doesn't like it, too bad.
Well, most of the concerns that are not coming from PlayStation are like from regulators who are saying, "Oh, is this too big of a transaction? Could this be considered a monopoly?" Which I don't really think makes any sense, but
absolutely
apparently
not.
some people out there do think that.
Not. I would worry more. I think Tencent has done much more damage in the last couple of years than Microsoft is doing from this one transaction. I promise you.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good take.
Same thing with Facebook too. I think Facebook is far worse. So.
Right. Yeah. No, there's definitely an argument to be made there.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears here and talk about some new games coming out soon. One just real quick one to hit on. This is, I think, sneaking up on some folks, including myself. Dragon Quest Treasures, the next Dragon Quest game, is coming out very, very soon. Early December, right?
December 9th.
December 9th.
Early December. Yep.
Yeah, so not long for that one, and we're getting more of a look. Last week we got some new screenshots. We got kind of a rundown of the overall gameplay, what kind of monsters you'll encounter. So it seems like the structure of this game, and Dennis, I know this one's kind of on your radar, so maybe you can kind of tell me what you're looking forward to with this one. But this doesn't seem like a full RPG. It seems more kind of like a combat focused. You're going through dungeons and taking down enemies. That kind of game.
Yeah, more or less. I think it's kind of when I first saw it, it reminded me a lot of not mechanically or anything, but just vibe-wise. I started getting a lot of vibes of like Dragon Quest Builders, right? Where this is meant to be definitely a smaller spin-off game that's meant to appeal to a wider audience versus the hardcore JRPG folk. So, yeah, and that's what made it appeal to me so much. Even though I've always loved Dragon Quest, I've been ever since Dragon Quest 8 on PS2. I've been a big fan of. But yeah, it's basically essentially a dungeon crawler, but with a little more. But with that Dragon Quest flair to it, right? So it's not going to be that traditional, just like, all right, let's just keep going through these dungeons over and over again, and then they just loot it all up. It's there's going to be a point to it. There's going to be a really nice sort of Dragon Quest charm to it that will, I think, appeal to a lot of people. Similar to what Dragon Quest Builders did for people who maybe couldn't get into Minecraft but wanted something that was a little more relaxed than a typical RPG and wanted that sort of building aspect for it. I think this will do a similar thing, but for dungeon crawlers.
Right. Is this game, like, I know It seems like you're excited about it. Is this something that you're planning on picking up and playing through?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so long as everything, is planned, accordingly, you should see a review up on the website at some point regarding Dragon Quest Treasures. So yeah, I'm very much excited, and whether it's recreationally or professionally, I'm very much excited for for Dragon Quest Treasures for sure.
Great. Well, yeah, that one is right around the corner, December 9th. So yeah, keep an eye on the site, and hopefully we will have a review for you guys soon. And just one other game I wanted to shout out, just because this one in particular is interesting to me. So, and I can't remember if we've talked about it in the past or not, but it's an indie game called the Outbound Ghost. And this game is kind of billing itself as a Paper Mario tribute in terms of the type of game it is and also its art style. It's a narrative-driven RPG that kind of has that whole paper cutout look. Just looks absolutely charming, and I want more games like this. I will take as many games in this style as I can get. It looks, the writing looks good, the art just looks beautiful, combat looks simple, but sometimes that is fine because I don't always want to play something crazy complex, and yeah, I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah,
actually.
you know
It's
what
coming
would
out
be
December
great
1st.
in this style? Like a Mario RPG that's like turn-based and you get to pick your moves and you're not tied to any kind of mechanic like stickers or cards. Just like, a nice regular turn-based Mario RPG like this.
Wow, I wonder what you'd call something like that.
I don't know.
Paper Mario, something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
No, I mean, all cynicism aside, like, I am glad that, in spite of Paper Mario taking a different direction from the initial games in the series, there are other developers that are kind of picking up the slack and trying to put their own twist on it. And it's always kind of nice to see these pop up. I think Bug Fables was the big one before this that most people were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard mostly good things from that, so hoping to hear good things from this too.
Well, kind of a turn-based RPG also. I do want to give a quick shout out to this one because I feel like it was lesser known, but there's a game called Rainbow Billy that had a really cute art style that was very Paper Mario inspired as well, and that game was really good. Really, really good.
No, I do remember hearing about that one. Was that based off an existing property, like a TV show or something? I can't remember.
I don't believe so. I think it's just. I mean, it definitely looked like it's because of the production value and the artistry to it. But yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, hey, take that as a compliment, right? It looked very distinct visually, I can say for sure. But yeah, that one is coming out December 1st, and I'm definitely hoping to play that one at some point because it just looks like a good time. All right, before we start wrapping things up here, want to talk about just a few of the games that came out this week. Not too much to report this week in particular. That's going to change very, very soon. Probably the biggest release this week was Just Dance 2023, which not exactly a barn burner for a lot of people, but these games clearly are selling very well because they keep making them. I think there's not, we're getting to the point where this is kind of turning into a FIFA or a Madden situation where these games are not bringing remarkable changes every year. It's mostly new songs, maybe a little extra visual flair, I think we talked about it recently, but the main thing they're doing now with Just Dance is they have the subscription service. So if you really want to play all the Just Dance songs, you subscribe to their subscription service through the game, and that's kind of how they're doing it nowadays. I have not played a Just Dance game since the Wii, the Wii days, personally. I think another interesting thing about this release is, so there's a free version that lets you play 2 songs in total. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's an $85 version that includes the game and the subscription. So
Jesus. You're telling me I can dance for free? That's crazy.
Yes, as long as you're okay with only picking 2 songs. So there you go.
That's what that loop button is there for, Nick.
Yeah. Maybe 2 songs is enough. 2 songs is about as much mileage as I would get out of it at a party with friends. So,
Yeah,
maybe that's all you need.
Yeah. Get some quick cardio for 6 minutes. You're good to go.
There you go. Or if you really like those two songs, one of them is a BTS song, so maybe that will be enough to excite those people. Yeah. But yeah, in the indie spectrum, we've got a couple more interesting things. One of them is Ship of Fools, which is a co-op roguelike, which I know there are no shortage of on the Switch and just in general. But this one is interesting because it's kind of pirate themed. So you are basically you have this ship, and you and your partners, you have to like all kind of work together to get it to work and to fight things. So you've got to like operate the cannons and operate the sails and fight monsters, and I think that could be actually pretty fun with like a roguelike structure, because if you're playing with someone, right, like, and every time you do it, you in theory have to get better, and your runs are always going to be different. I think that could be really fun. I'm actually kind of curious about this one.
It doesn't look too bad. I actually got sent an offer for it, but I had to pass it along to another writer that I know from a different site because I just had too much on my plate at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it looked really, really good, and definitely seems like it'd be a super fun co-op game, if anything. And the art style is really what appealed to me right away. But yeah, no, I mean, it looks really, really solid. Happy to see it
no,
coming
definitely. There's
coming to Switch.
Yeah, there's even just the trailer for it alone, just like there's like a cinematic, I don't know if you can even call it that, but just everything looks hand drawn and very cartoony and very silly and just all looks really nice. So yeah, I'm curious to hear more about that one. This one's kind of weird. This is one of those out of left field Switch ports that I was not expecting. And honestly, I've never even heard of this game. So it's called Blade of Darkness. And apparently, this is like a really old game from either the PlayStation 1 or the PlayStation 2. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it's getting a port to the Switch. It originally came out in 2001, and now here we are, 21 years later. And it just looks like I mean, I don't mean this as a dig, but it just looks like a relatively straightforward, like Souls-like game. Maybe a little bit more fast-paced than some of the games in that genre. Doesn't look like a huge remaster or anything like that, but I mean, as a piece of history, I'm like, what is this game and where did it come from?
Yeah, it's not something that I even heard of just in general. Like, this title, the art, everything is completely brand new to me, so I kind of just...
Right.
Like, how much of a historical impact does this game have? Because I just do not know it at all.
Right. I mean, I figure there has to be a reason they're bringing it over, other than its 20th anniversary, right? Like, it must have had enough of a cult following to get this remaster, so...
Right, yeah.
I don't know. If you're a diehard Blade of Darkness fan, please leave a comment and tell me all about yourself and why. I want to know more. Back over in the indie circle, we've got Saint Kotar. This one looks really cool. It's a psychological horror game, but it's a point and click. It's like an adventure game, and it looks like much more of like a slow burn, which I like. Horror games I have a hard time with sometimes. When they're like super jump scare heavy, mostly just because I'm a wimp and I can't handle a lot of jump scares. But I love a good like moody, creepy game, and
Yeah, those are my
this
favorite.
looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, the psychological like horror ones where they're meant more so to get under your skin rather than give you a quick like again jump scare like you said. I
Right.
like those slow burn ones a lot, especially the ones that are like super smart and make you think and like you start to have like a sort of your own narrative happening in your own head while you're trying to figure this out with the whole environmental storytelling thing going on. Yeah, no, those are my favorite. Those are fantastic.
Right. Yeah, and man, like the Switch is just such a great place for these types of games because you got the touch screen, and so for point and clicks, it's awesome. So, I want to check out this game too. This is a real problem I have. There's so many great indies that I just don't have time to play all of them. It's a real problem. Good problem to have. And then one last game I want to shout out real quick in the just overall oddity section. So there's this is the name of the game is called New Joe and Mac Caveman Ninja, and if you're thinking, oh, Joe and Mac, that sounds familiar, that's because it is a very old, long-running franchise, and this is a HD. I guess it looks like a totally new version, but this was originally an arcade game, and they are porting it to new systems, and it looks like it's been like almost entirely redone. Like the graphics seem like hugely upgraded. They're saying it's got new sounds, and the controls have been revamped. And I don't know much about this franchise, but I mean visually it looks very nice, and it certainly caught my attention when I saw it.
Yeah, it's got a nice little charming style to it.
There was a point in time where there were a ton of like caveman themed games. I don't know if you guys remember, but like
the Flintstones craze, I guess.
Right.
I do remember
There was
seeing
Bonk. Do you guys remember Bonk?
That one. I don't
Super
remember any of
Bonk.
the names, honestly, but
Yes. Yeah, there were a lot of caveman games for a long time. It feels like a genre that's prized to make its grand return. Who knows? Maybe Joe and Mac will be the game that brings the caveman genre back into popular world.
it's another untapped market, just like zombie golf games.
There you go. There you go. This podcast, man. We're coming up with all kinds of great ideas. These are free ideas, folks. Just make sure you credit us if you make a game. If you make a zombie golf game and you don't put Dennis in your credits, he'll be very upset.
Very much so. Very much so. I mean, I don't want to say I'll take legal action, but I'll probably take legal action. Yeah.
No, he will at the very least review his legal options. At the very least.
Pretty much. Yeah.
He'll send you a copy of 1-2-Switch.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, that's brutal. That's brutal. I don't think I'd do that
Nicholas,
to my worst enemy. Come on,
man.
We
don't talk like that on this
brutal.
podcast.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that is just about our show. But before we go for the week, really quick, we're going to end with our classic segment. What has everyone been playing? Nicholas, let's start with you. What have you been playing this week?
Right. I've been playing catch up a little bit because I have not been playing too much these last few weeks, so I decided to kind of fix that a bit. And I've been grinding through the rest of Bayonetta 3 because I still had a little bit of the game left to go. And I still have a little bit of the game left to go, like 2 chapters-ish. But I'm very close to finishing that now, and I'm really debating whether I want to try and 100% it, because the game's really fun.
I mean, the fact that you're even considering 100%ing it is high praise. Because it takes a lot for me to want to do that in a game.
Yeah, I don't 100% every game I play, but it's definitely something I like doing. I have kind of that completionist itch, I guess.
Sure.
And I haven't completed any platinum games.
And you're a Xenoblade fan?
Oh,
It's a dangerous combination. You're a Xenoblade fan, and you like 100%ing things.
It's a hard life. Yeah. Yeah, but I haven't completed any platinum games before, like any of the Bayonettas or Astral Chain, just because at the time there were other games I wanted to play as well. So just beat them, enjoy them, and then move on. I might dig a little bit deeper into this. I'm not sure. There's a few other things I plan on doing soon. Like I probably will play Inscription when it comes out, and I've been wanting to get back into Monster Hunter Stories 2 because the Pokemon itch needs to get stretched somehow. So
something stable.
Yeah. Hey, those are all great games. So I mean, sounds like you are spending your time playing a lot of good stuff.
I got some
plans
plans,
about that, right? Yeah. No, that's good. Dennis, what about you? What have you been playing lately? Other than Pokemon.
Other than Pokemon. Oh, Jesus. Okay. You got me there, man. You got me there. That's been my main go-to, really. Actually, you know what? No, I'll mention another one. Like other than Pokemon, which is the obvious one, and other than Bayonetta 3. So there's a game called Hourglass. I don't know if you guys have heard this one, because I've been kind of in a puzzle mood lately. And so it's very relaxing. It's very chill. It's just, it has a really nice sort of simplistic art style to it, low polygonal. And you just go through these beautiful environments, and you do puzzles basically. But its big mechanic is that it uses a sort of time reversal mechanic. That's sort of its gimmick. So you can take a block
Huh.
and then put it in one place, but let's just say you only need it there for about 10 seconds, right? So you do what you need to do, and then you click the reversal button, and then it'll undo the last, maybe I think it goes up to, well, yeah, about 10 seconds basically. The last 10 seconds of what you've just done basically. So let's just say you need to put a block down to take a platform from one end to another end, but then you need to take a block off to bring the platform back, but you have no way of getting back 'cause there's a massive gap in the middle. That's when you would use the reversal you know gimmick to you know go back in time to get rid of that block that previously wasn't there before you put it there. Yeah, and then you're able to move the platform back that way. So yeah, it's really really neat. It's very simple. I've been playing that on Xbox, and yeah, it's been very relaxing. Very very relaxing. Not much to it. There's a simple story. That has to do with like archaeologists and trying to find unique these artifacts that are just unknown. They're sort of from another world or another dimension. They're like, I don't know how they got here. And then you find these sorts of hieroglyphics that sort of tell
Right.
a story that way. But yeah, no, I mean it's very simple, very fun. Not long at all. Maybe I probably beat it in like 3 hours. It's not long, and yeah, it's a nice little palate cleanser if you're looking for something that is more puzzle based. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks interesting. It's you don't see a lot of games with Egypt as a setting, but it
Hmm.
looks like a kind of like dreamy, surreal version of
Yeah.
Egypt. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm right about that, but certainly looks unique. At
Yeah.
first, when I
It's
first looked
not
at it, I was like, it looks kind of like The Witness, but what you're making it sound like it's more like traversal based puzzles rather than.
a little bit, yeah. I mean, The Witness was very good. But yeah, definitely a lot more, deep, brainstorming type of puzzles. This one's
Right.
definitely a little more traversal, like you said. I played another game recently that would best relate it to this, a little game called Tempest. And I played that a couple of weeks ago as well. So, and they're both very cheap games. If you're looking for a nice cheap puzzle game, I mean, I think Hourglass is when it's not on sale anyways, like $10, and then same thing with Tempest, it's only like $6 or $7. So, and you can beat both of those games within a couple hours. So yeah, you want something simple, nice little palate cleanser to, drink some coffee with,
Yeah,
on
there
a
you go.
nice afternoon. There you go. Yeah.
Wipe away the
Yeah, it looks
taste
like
of low
Hourglass
frame rates and bad
is.
performance.
There you go.
Right.
The
Right.
ultimate
Exactly.
palate cleanser. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Hourglass is on the Switch, and it is currently on sale for $9 on the Switch eShop. So,
Nice.
at least here
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
U.S. So yeah, there you go. If you're curious about that game, you can go check it out at a discounted price. As far as myself, I am kind of in the middle of some games right now, but one of the games I did check out this week that I was ready to try it. I've been thinking about it for a while. Was Death's Door, the
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
Zelda-like creepy
Oh, dude, that
game
game is
that came out.
brilliant.
Bird game.
Yes, the bird game. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, this one I kind of have some mixed feelings on. I was having fun with it. It's a good game. Like it feels very good to play. I'll say that. It the actual like the combat is really fluid and really satisfying. Moving on the overworld. I mean, the animation is great. You play as this cute little bird who's also kind of the Grim Reaper, and the whole thing is you're going around harvesting souls as this cute little bird. It's wild. Um, but man, there's something about this game that was just I think is just holding it back from really hooking me, and I'm not too sure what it is. I think part of it is just that I'm not really digging the overall like the environments and the actual exploration in this game.
Oh,
It
really?
just it all feels a little too like the environments don't feel very distinct, and there's no map, so you kind of feel like you're just wandering around in circles,
Yeah.
and it's all a little too I feel like this game is trying to go for the whole like gotta be mysterious and not tell you too much about what's going on, but it also doesn't really give me like a super great reason to explore. And so I was having some fun with it. I don't think it's something I'm gonna finish, but it's certainly a good game, and I can see why a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I definitely see what you mean though about the maps. and the game is very cryptic. It's one of those where it doesn't tell you much. You kind of have to put the
Right.
pieces together on your own. But
Which some people
um,
love.
yeah, no, I mean, I certainly don't mind it. I mean, Tunic was like that, and I thought Tunic was fantastic. But it's definitely one of those where you do have to have a bit of patience with it. But the game, I will say, Nick, that it gets, for lack of a better word, it gets easier as you go on, and I don't mean easy in terms of skill, but you are very lacking in the beginning, so you do have to sort of grind it out a little bit. But as you get, your upgrades and you're able to do a little bit more, everything becomes a lot more feasible and a lot more fluid. So yeah, you do have to get through a few road bumps in the beginning,
Sure.
but it does sort of straighten itself out after maybe the first couple hours. So, but it's but yeah, no, I personally I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
played both Death's Door and Tunic, like you say, Dennis, and they do feel very similar to me. And I
Yeah,
think I end up having the same kind of general issues with both, where I do think they're really good games, but there's just something about the way that the game's atmosphere is set up and the way that it, I don't know, there's just the general combat and magic system
sure.
and progression system that just doesn't completely click for some reason.
Yeah. I
Mm.
I will say for those that have it on PC, because I've played this on both Xbox and PC, and they were both, great. But once you beat the game, do yourself a favor if you want to jump in again, or even if you just want to make things a little more accessible for yourself. If you put mods in where you do have unlimited mana and stuff like
Mm.
that, dude, the game becomes wild. It's Devil May Cry's door is what it becomes, and it's insane, and it's so much fun. Like once you like go into God mode, it's it's
I
I, I
bet.
I can't stress enough how wild it is, and it's awesome seeing this cute little bird just going around and just doing all the craziness that you're capable of doing in that game. But yeah, the
Yeah.
animations are great too.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, it's really good. And again, I really like the combat. I don't mind the challenge of it, and I
Mhm.
actually really like the dynamic of how in order to use your range attacks, like your bow and stuff, you have to go in and like land a few shots with
Yeah,
your blades or whatever, and then kind of duck back out and
yeah, I do like that
it
too.
all
Yeah.
yeah, so it's got a good flow to it. I don't know, for some reason the setting and the world are just not really doing it for me. I think the trailers really kind of marketed this game as being more story heavy than at least it seemed to be in the,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours I played of it. So I think I was a little bummed by that because it's such like a cool premise,
Yeah.
that you're kind of playing as this soul collector and you're this
Yeah.
little bird and there's a character with a pot of soup for a head and
Mm.
it's all very creative but
Yeah. Yeah. Now
um,
remind me, isn't this game on? I think that store is on Game Pass now, right? Is that how you played it, or did you buy it
it is
on the
on the
Switch, or?
well I played it on Game Pass because why would I spend money on it if I don't have to, but it is on the
Sure. Sure.
Switch. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
you can currently go buy this game for $20 on the Switch and I'm
Okay.
sure it would be a
Gotcha.
good way to play it.
Yeah,
Oh
I,
yeah. I
I
mean, yeah. I
played it
mean,
on Switch. It was a good
yeah. I
experience.
mean, yeah. I
Good.
was. Yeah. I think it's well worth that price if you're into games like that. But if you are iffy, then yeah. I mean, Game Pass is a nice alternative to sort of jump in and see how you feel about it.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and hearing people compare this with Tunic, I wonder if I feel like I might like Tunic a bit more. I think I like just the overall art direction of that game a little bit more, just based on what I've seen about it. So maybe Tunic will be the game for me that I want Death's Door to be. But so I might have
Maybe.
to get around to trying that one soon. We'll see. Well, folks, that is our show for the week. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in to this episode of Nintendo Everything Refresh. We really appreciate it. Like I mentioned at the start of the show, we do have a giveaway going on, so be sure to enter that if you want a chance of winning your copy of Front Mission First Remake. We're giving away 5 copies over here on YouTube. Just leave a comment with the words Front Mission down in it or something Front Mission related. Let's leave it to Front Mission and your Twitter handle, and we will pick our winners in the next episode. And there's also another giveaway over on Twitter if you prefer to enter that way. So yeah, we will get back to you guys on our winners in the next episode. But in the meantime, hope everyone has a great week, and we will be back at you next week with everything new and exciting in the world of Nintendo. See you guys later.